Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today I want to discuss something slightly different to what we have been discussing in the past few weeks. I obviously have a gaming channel that is my kind of primary focus. This is a secondary channel. But I don't talk about gaming a lot on For What It's Nerd. Arguably because I do have this other channel where I outlet my gaming a lot. But I kind of wanted to take some time to discuss it today because I'm finding something very interesting is happening to me right now. I am getting sucked in to a number of battle passes. So I know that sounds very weird. Like, why does that matter? You know, what's the issue there? Well, none really. It's more a kind of thing I've been debating, and especially as someone who creates content, battle passes can kind of be a bane. So I looked into it. I thought, right, okay, let me think about how many games I have that I play regularly that have battle passes. And so what we have is Marvel Strike Force, the mobile game I play, which has not one battle pass, by the way, but two. Marvel Snap has a battle pass. So does Overwatch. So does Multiversus. And so does Fortnite. So that's what? That's 6 battle passes that in a month or a few months I'm trying to complete. And that doesn't sound like anything. That doesn't sound like a big hardship. If I only played those games, and that's what I find I'm doing a lot of the time. Which obviously is a great enticement for the creators of these games. They want that. They want you playing just their game or just their few games. But it perpetuates an issue where I feel like I'm not finishing all these other games that I want to play, these other, or reading or writing. And you know, it's that culture that we're kind of stuck in as a society where we kind of just consume and consume and consume stuff that seems endless when there's stuff that we can consume that's kind of finite and finishes. And I'm trying to find a balance because I think sometimes endless games can be fun. I mean, I played MMOs for years before I started content creation, before I started, you know, entering the real world, so to speak, entering a job, etc. And I loved wasting time on MMOs. Wasting is maybe even the wrong word because I enjoyed those moments. I enjoyed spending time leveling characters and playing characters and making new characters. And I don't have the time for that as much as I'd like these days. But I still did enjoy that. But I do think, yeah, it's a mix, right? You've got to be able to finish games or finish books or finish things. And so I'm really trying to find the balance there at the moment, especially again, as content is also on top of that, right? Like, I need to make videos, I need to make shorts, I need to make TikToks, I need to do For What It's Nerd, I need to watch films thus and you know, shows, and there's so much that I want to do all the time. And this is a recurring theme that you guys know. I never ever have a day where I'm like, oh, I don't have things that I want to do / need to do / feel like I should be doing. But battle passes are really adding to that at the moment. Especially, and I found it the worst with Multiversus. Now, I do enjoy Multiversus as a game. I don't think it's the worst game that has a battle pass. I don't think it's the worst kind of monetization option of the games even that I've mentioned. But the thing with Multiversus is, and I know it's an infant game, so there might be time for this to change and things will adapt and improve. And, you know, I found that Multiversus's battle pass is incredibly unforgiving. If you're not playing every day, essentially, and you're not doing your if you're on your best form, you are not gaining levels, essentially. Now that's kind of blanket term. There's a lot of, you know, specifics we can go into, but the idea is with Multiverse as compared to something like Fortnite, for example, Fortnite has a whole slew of quests that you can do across the 3 months that the battle pass is running. Multiversus doesn't have that yet. It has dailies, which equated to around about a 1/6 of a level, and then it has its weeklies. Now, I think that's slightly changed with Season 2, and I haven't played as much of Season 2 yet, so I can't quite compare Season 1 to Season 2 too much. But yeah, I actually even uninstalled Multiversus at one point and said, I'm not doing it. I then re-downloaded it because I was like, I'm not wasting my money, which is typical me as well. But yeah, I was kind of very frustrated because I don't want to have to always win to progress in a battle pass. Overwatch and don't get me wrong, Overwatch has terrible monetization in other areas, skins, etc. Just being bought from the store, but its battle pass is actually relatively good. I am currently prestiging in my Overwatch 2 battle pass for the first season, and like I don't feel a need to do it because it's just titles, but it's nice to be able to go in and just go, right, I'm going to get a title, and if I don't get it, it's not the end of the world. Fortnite is the same. I'm behind on Fortnite this season, but I don't feel worried about it because I know if I went in tomorrow, I could probably get 10, 15 levels. You know, so it's not as worrying and not as stressful as Multiversus feels to me right now. But there's other games where that does feel as stressful. Now, Marvel Strike Force, again, is a mobile game, so it's slightly different. But Marvel Strike Force really tries to scare you into like, oh crap, if you don't do this every day, you're going to fall behind. And because you're working with an alliance, which is very gacha game-esque, but you know, when you have too many pressures like that on you, when you have too many, like, you must do this, you have to do this daily, you have to do this daily, like, that's stressful enough in a job. That's stressful enough in terms of, right, I have to do this housework and that housework, and I have to do, I have to make this, I have to do that, I have to make food. Like, that's stressful enough in those tasks. Never mind your gaming kind of career, so to speak. And again, on top of content. So I was kind of in this position of like, well, what do I do? And I'm trying to find a way out, so to speak. I'm trying to find like, which game don't I want to play as much? Do I drop one? The issue is I kind of like them all varyingly. If I were to drop one, I think it probably would be Multiversus, but I feel like I'm going to give it this season 2, and then kind of make a decision, because I feel like Multiversus, whilst it was a great game that came out, it's a fun, enjoyable game, I don't think it's quite gonna it's not a mainstay. I don't think it's going to be as popular forever, if that makes sense. Fortnite has so much momentum, it basically keeps going on its own. Overwatch was a really popular game for a time where really there weren't that many games of its type coming out, and so I think Overwatch 2 is still thriving off the success of the first and will continue to thrive because of that as well, and you know, it's bringing in new players and so on and so forth. So I think if any were to be dropped, it would probably be Multiversus, and probably because the game itself kind of doesn't keep its own weight, if that makes sense. I could be wrong about that. I just have a feeling, a little inkling. But again, I could be wrong, and that could be totally made up. But yeah, so it's really stopping me from playing the games that I want to play. Well, not games that I want to play, because I do want to play those games, but like, it's making me feel like I can't play other games as well. And so because of that, I feel like I'm constantly on what essentially is the idea, a treadmill. I'm constantly going and I'm never getting anywhere. I'm not getting to the end because there is no end. And so when you pair playing, like, I do play Final Fantasy 14, for example. So when you pair playing an MMO with 3 games that never end, and then, like, you know, your mobile game that you play every day, like, that's a lot, you know? That's a lot to deal with. That's a lot to kind of like, is mentally draining, especially if you're like losing. I find that a lot with Multiversus. Like Fortnite, I don't care. If I lose, I'm like, crap, I'll try again, because like your progress is saved in that quest, or like you'll get part of a completion of a quest. Not so much in Multiversus. There's like 1 or 2 where that kind of happens. A lot of them are like win, or a lot of them are like, you need to do this specific thing at this specific point. Like, and that's fine, but it feels like if you lose, then you're not getting to where you want to be, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's kind of a hard one. Don't get me wrong, Multiversus has other good things though, like 1 free reroll of a daily quest. Like, that's really good. Like, that helps. And then being able to reroll other ones if you hate them, but like the incremental cost gain is like kind of like shitty. Personally, I prefer 2 rerolls and then like 2 rolls at level, like the first level of 100 coins, and then like, you know, go on from there. But like, I don't know, I just feel like Multiversus is kind of punishing in that regard. Like, it's a good game, but I feel like its monetization, its battle pass is problematic for me, for the way I play the game. For other people, they probably smash in a weekend, and then they're like, well, maybe not a weekend, but you know what I mean, a week or 2, and they're like, okay, moving on with my life. But like for me, it does not fit with my life, and I feel like if you want to get people into these games, and now this is going to sound weird because I don't necessarily always agree with this, but I think you need to, with the battle pass and stuff like that, create it with the lowest common denominator in mind. You have to you have to meet the slowest person in the class, so to speak. You can't meet the fastest person in the class and only them. You know, Fortnite feels that way. Fortnite feels like even if you were a very unskilled player, you could finish the battle pass. And that's the thing, right? Because the battle pass isn't about the skill of the game, right? Anyone can complete a battle pass, and that should be the idea, right? But not everyone can get, like, for example, in Overwatch, the golden like weapons because some people don't play ranked, or not everyone can get those ranked titles because you have to be really good at ranked. Like, there's other rewards for people who are really skilled at the game. Battle passes are about fun items for everyone, or should be, generally speaking. So I kind of feel like battle passes shouldn't be punishing. They should actually be like, hey, yeah, like, again, I'm not saying that they want people to log into the game. I get that. So there has to be an element of like challenge, quote unquote. But like, it shouldn't be like, hey, you need to like do 10 different things to get one level. Like, it should be like, hey, you do 2 or 3 things and then you've got like 2 or 3 levels. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult. Generally speaking, to me. So that's kind of like a little rant about that. That kind of goes into, again, it goes into the content, because if I'm constantly just playing these games, I can't start like I can't play my, I want to play Sonic Frontiers, for example. I got that game. I've played an hour and a half of it because I haven't had the time. I want to read more. I've got books that are like stacking up. I literally have a stack like that on my bedside table, and like they're not going anywhere because I keep saying, right, crap, I got to get multiversus dailies done, and like it's my own fault in a way, right? Because I can go, right, I shouldn't be playing these 3 games all the time. I can do something else. So am I whining slightly? Maybe. Is it like my own fault? Probably. But at the same time, I feel like there's still things that these games can do to make the experience better, so that the more people can play more games or other games, if that makes sense. Multiversus dailies can take me 3 or 4 hours if I don't get the right scenario with the right players. Overwatch dailies, I can log in and maybe do 1 match and finish like 3 or 4 dailies, and that's like that's better to me personally. So, I'm not saying that it has to be great. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. I'm not saying that it has to be like you go in and you basically get all the battle pass straight away. But I feel like it could be better, is what I'm saying. It's a hard one because there's so many different angles to come at this, right? Because A, maybe the battle pass is kind of not really aimed at me. B, is the battle pass aimed at, making money, or is it aimed at making a good experience of the game? C, well, obviously it is made money, but you know what I mean? What's the priority split, should I say? Is it like 70% money? Is it 30% enjoyment? Or is it like 50-50? Or is it like 60-40 and the money is just so that they can recoup costs? Like, because gaming is very different to, say, making a movie, right? Like, movie going, yes, is about, how do I put it? Movie going, yes, is about making an experience, but it's generally about, let's make a big movie so we get big money, right? And the interactivity is small. But with gaming, you have to consider how someone's going to react to your game. Like, for example, right? I bring this up as an example a lot, but The Last Jedi, right? Going into it, the director, I've forgotten his name off the top of my head. I shouldn't. Oh my gosh, what is it? Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson was saying, like, I don't want everyone to like my movie, and that's an okay thing to say, because if not everyone likes your movie, they've watched it. They've already handed their money in. With a game, it's different. With a game, you need to continually support your player base. Otherwise, they're going elsewhere. It's similar to a show in that way, I suppose. If people don't like the first season of your show, they're not watching the second. And that's what gaming is. Gaming is, if someone doesn't like your game, they're not going to keep playing it. So like I suppose the comparison is single player games are like movies and ongoing games are like TV shows. I suppose that's the comparison I'm trying to make. And an ongoing game being like a TV show means that you need to keep people entertained and hooked and excited, but also don't make them feel punished. Like the first 7 episodes of a show shouldn't be crap for this 8th one to be good. Like a battle pass shouldn't be fun just because of the reward at the end. It should be about the experience of it too, if that makes sense. I think I'm making sense. I hope I'm making sense. But what I'm trying to say is it shouldn't be like a grind should feel fun. Like you should be going in and playing a game and then saying, hey, I got these things, rather than saying, oh, I've got to get these things and play the game. So am I making sense? I think so, but slightly, maybe it's a slightly botched analogy, but it's the best one I can come up with off the top of my head. It's a hard one. It is a hard one. And I know I keep going back to saying that, but I think it's hard because I don't want to sound like a person who is coming out and saying, you must give me everything straight away. I really disagree with that kind of mentality of like, get everything given to you. I think you have to work for things. But it's a game. And it's like, it's rewards for a game that are like essentially cosmetic more than not. Like, apart from like in Multiversus now, the 2nd season, I think they have like some kind of small boosts in there that are like to do with currency and stuff like that. But like generally speaking, it's just fun cosmetics. So I don't feel like I should have to work my ass off and stress about it. But I do, because I've got that kind of compulsive nature. And a lot of people do. But a lot of people are okay with being compulsed, if that makes sense. I'm not, because I see it. It's very hard when you see something, but you still do it, because you're like, I can see what I'm doing, but I still do it. I still buy this thing, even though I know it's going to be like stressful for me or worrisome for me. But, you know, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can kind of control yourself. Even when you know that something's going to stress you out, you can't control yourself all the time. You still do that thing. Even when you know something's bad for you, you still do it, right? I think that's part, there's a bigger issue there of capitalism and impulsivism and FOMO, fear of missing out, of course. There's a lot of that. And I think gaming very much utilizes that a lot. And I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think it can be a good tool. I think it can be fun. And I think, sometimes it drives people to come back to a game, and that's fun as well. Like, I've definitely gone back to a game because a skin is released or something like that, which is very like silly in a way, but I've gone back to Fortnite because they released a fun skin, or a cool set of skins or whatever. And yeah, that's okay as long as people are happy with it. But I'm not happy right now. And again, this isn't like a shit on battle pass thing, like, because I think battle passes can be fun, and I will buy battle passes, and I'll continue to buy battle passes. But it's just that, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm just stressed about it. I need to outlet it slightly to kind of work it out in my mind what's working and what's not. And I think a lot of people feel the same. I think a lot of people go, oh, crap. I know a friend, for example, who plays Valorant, which also has a battle pass, I believe. And they were like, oh, crap, I'm not going to get to the end of the thing. Maybe I have to buy it and like buy the last levels. And I was like, if you want to, that's fine, of course. But I just think, gosh, are we that like kind of driven by the need to have these things in this game that eventually, I mean, the NFT gaming thing seems to have died out anyway, but thank goodness. But, there is a true point in the sense of these things aren't things that we keep. And, for example, going out and buying a meal, you don't keep the food, you eat it and then it's gone. Like, you haven't kept that food forever. So yeah, the stuff that is transitory, is that the word? I think it's the word. But there's stuff that you don't keep, right? There's things that you won't keep. There's the games that will die, and the money that you put into them will essentially be for nothing, which is fine. It's about the moment, and it's about having those things at the time. But it's just weird. It's a weird thing that we get so trapped up in these games that have cosmetics. We're like, ooh, pretty thing, we must have it. And it's weird. It is weird. But at the same time, we all fall for it. So I'm trying to kind of grapple with that and trying to say, it's not just me. I might have some extra issues around it compared to other people, but it's not just me. And I think that's important. I think that's important to remind yourself sometimes. So I think that's what this episode was about, really. Coming on here, discussing battle passes, discussing my grievances, and trying to find out if I still want to buy these battle passes, which I'm going to. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Maybe you guys are buying battle passes too. Let me know. Do you guys buy battle passes? Do you buy them all? How many games do you have battle passes in? I'd love to know because I think I'm going mad with all these battle passes. Oh, thank you guys for listening. As always, I hope you've had some fun listening to me rant about battle passes, my battle pass experience recently. But yeah, thank you for watching For What It's Nerd, listening to For What It's Nerd, whatever you're doing with For What It's Nerd. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for doing all those cool things. See you next time, guys.